Chapter 22. Matthias judged by the sun that it was past mid-afternoon. He had made steady progress through the woods. Nothing untoward had occurred. He had stopped and had a light snack, gained his second wind, and pressed forward, taking care not to create too much noise lest he disturb any predators. The young mouse had discovered a path of sorts, skirting the dense underbrush and avoiding patches of marshland. Always keeping the tree moss on his left, he continued eastwards. Matthias pinned the metal to his habit, telling himself that he might stumble into Captain Snow's territory at any moment. Lulled by the warm sun, cool shade, and bird song, he trekked onwards, thinking of nothing in particular and enjoying the sense of freedom amid so much beauty. Seemingly, from out of nowhere, a mouse leaped, barring Matthias's path. He halted, sizing the strange mouse up. It was an odd-looking, wild thing. Matthias was not even too sure it really was a mouse. The creature had spiky fur, which stuck out at odd angles all around. Around its brow was bound a brightly colored scarf. The stranger was fully a head shorter than Matthias. It stood defiantly, blocking his way, glaring at him with the maddest-looking eyes he had ever encountered. Matthias smiled politely and addressed the odd mouse.
"Hello there. Beautiful afternoon, isn't it?"
"Never mind that nonsense,"
he replied in a gruff voice.
"Who are you? Why are you trespassing on Shrew land?"
Matthias paused. So this is what a shrew looked like. He had never seen one before, but he had been told of their bad tempers. The young mouse decided to fight fire with fire. No point being good-mannered with this little hooligan. He snarled in what he hoped was an aggressive manner.
"Never mind who I am. Who do you think you are, you little raghead?"
The shrew seemed uncertain for a moment. Then she stormed back in her low, gruff voice.
"I am Gyosum, and you still haven't told me what you want in Shrew territory."
Gyosum,
echoed Matthias.
What sort of a name is that? And anyhow, if you don't want creatures coming across your land, then you should put signs up. As far as I'm concerned, Mossflower has always been free to all. Except this part,
snapped the shrew.
Don't you know anything? Gyosum stands for Guerilla Union of Shrews in Mossflower.
Matthias laughed scornfully.
I couldn't care less what it stands for. Make way for a Redwall Abbey warrior. I'm coming through!
Immediately, Matthias took a step forward. Gyosum stuck her paws between her lips and emitted a sharp whistle. There was a swift rustle in the undergrowth. Matthias found himself surrounded by at least 50 shrews. They packed around him, creating an angry hubbub in their deep, rough tones. All of them wore colored headbands. All carried short, rapier-like swords. Gyosum had difficulty in calling them to order.
"Comrades!"
she shouted.
"Tell this mouse what happens to a trespasser!"
The replies that came back were varied.
"Break his paws! Skin him alive! Chop off his nose! Hang him by the tail! Stuff his whiskers down his ears!"
A stern-looking old shrew barged Gyosum out of the way and whistled sharply. He produced a round black pebble and held it up. "Any comrade who wants to speak must hold the pebble. Otherwise, shut up!" Complete silence fell. He handed the pebble to Matthias. "Now, explain yourself, mouse." There were one or two murmurs of dissent, that a stranger who was not a shrew should have first say. The old shrew danced with rage. "Will you lot shut up? The mouse has the stone!" Silence fell once more. Matthias cleared his throat.
Guerilla Union of Shrews and Mossflower. Forgive me. As you see, I am a stranger in these parts. I do not intentionally trespass on your land. Had I known, I would have taken a different route. You have probably noticed by my habit that I come from Redwall Abbey. Though I am a warrior, we are a healing and helping order. It is usual for all creatures to allow a Redwall mouse to pass in peace. This is the unwritten law.
The older shrew, whose name was Logolog, took the pebble from Matthias and addressed the others. Right, comrades. Now we know a bit more about things. Let's have a show of paws. All those in favor of letting the mouse go free. Paws went up. Logolog counted them. Exactly half of those present. He called for those against and took another count. Half one way, half the other. The casting vote is mine. Now, let me tell you, I know we take care of our own, but the Redwall mice are a legend in Mossflower. They do no harm to any creature. In fact, they do a lot of good. Logolog raised his paw. Therefore, comrades, I vote that the mouse goes free. There followed an equal number of cheers and boos. A squabble ensued, and fighting broke out. Gyosim snatched the stone from Logolog and waved it about.
Listen to me!
She roared.
I know that Logolog is a wise elder, but I am president of our union, comrades. The mouse hasn't told us where he is going.
There was a brief silence. Another shrew snatched hold of the stone.
Aye, that's right. Where are you off to, mouse?
The stone was thrust at Matthias.
I'll tell you, he said, but my name is not Mouse. It's Matthias. Redwall Abbey is in danger from Clooney the Scourge and his horde.
There was an immediate shouting and gruff oaths. Matthias knew the drill. It was surprising how the stoneholder could gain quiet among such a noisy, quarrelsome gathering. Matthias continued.
As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, we at Redwall are under attack by Clooney and his horde. Evidently you have heard his name before. Well, I believe that I have the solution to Clooney. It is an ancient sword that once belonged to a great mouse named Martin the Warrior. To find the sword, I must ask Captain Snow the whereabouts of Asmodeus.
The shrews made a frenzied rush into the undergrowth. Matthias found he was standing alone. After a few minutes, Logolog and Gyosim ventured stealthily out again. Forgetting the stone, Gyosim spoke in an odd voice.
Do you mean you actually intend to walk right up and speak to Snow?
Matthias nodded. Logolog continued where his comrade had left off. You're going to ask the captain where you can find giant poison teeth, mouse. Matthias. You are either very brave or raving mad.
A little bit of both, I suppose, said the young mouse. Do you know much about Captain Snow and Asmodeus?
Both shrews trembled visibly. Gyosim's voice had risen an octave.
Matthias, you must be crazy! Don't you know what you're walking into? Captain Snow! Why, you'd be just a snack to him! And as for the other one, giant ice, who could even go near him? He eats as many shrews as he wants. No living creature can stop the poison teeth.
A heart-rending moan arose from the shrews in the undergrowth. Matthias still had the stone. He held it up and addressed them boldly.
Guerilla shrew comrades, I do not ask you to do my fighting. Merely point me in the direction of Captain Snow. Who knows? If I finally get the sword, I may be able to liberate you.
Logolog took the stone. Matthias of Redwall, you are on our land. We will escort you. The Guerilla Union of Shrews and Mossflower would never live down the shame of having a stranger fight their battles for them. You may not always see us, but we will be close by. Come now. Matthias moved northeastwards with the company of shrews, whose numbers seemed to swell as they went along. At nightfall, there were upwards of 400 members of the Shrew Union seated around the campfire, breaking bread with the warrior from Redwall. That night, Matthias slept inside a long, hollow log, with both ends disguised to make it appear solid. Like Basil, the shrews were masters of camouflage. Their very survival depended upon it. Half an hour before dawn, the young mouse was roused by a shrew who gave him an acorn cup full of sweet berry juice, a loaf of rough nut bread, and some tasty fresh roots that he could not identify. By dawn's first light, they were on the move again, marching until mid-morning. Matthias saw the edge of Mossflower Wood. The tall trees thinned out. Bush and undergrowth were sparse. Before them lay an open field of long, lush grass, dotted with buttercup and sorrel. In the distance, he could see the abandoned farmhouse that Basil had spoken of. All the shrews had disappeared, with the exception of Gyosum and Loggerlog. The latter pointed to the barn adjoining the farmhouse. "You might find Captain Snow in there, taking a nap. Now is the best time to approach him, after he has a full stomach from the night hunt." The two gorilla shrews melted back into the woods. Alone now, Matthias crossed the sunny field leading to the barn, just as Basil had taught him. Zigzag, crouch, wriggle, and weave. He tiptoed into the barn. There was no sign of an owl. In the semi-darkness, Matthias could make out various old farming implements rusted with disuse. On one wall, there was a huge stack of musty, dry straw bales. He decided to climb up the bales in the hope of getting near Captain Snow, who would most probably be sleeping perched in the rafters. Matthias scaled the packed straw. He stood on top and looked about. Nothing. He ventured forwards, and suddenly slipped and fell down a hidden gap between the bales. Scrambling and clutching, he plunged down to the floor. Matthias's feet never touched the earth. He landed clean in the gaping mouth of a huge marmalade cat.